reform.
Back at you, Senator Edwards. She says the distinction is artificial.
The distinction is not artificial. But first of all, Senator Clinton did a terrific job in the 1990s trying to do something about health care in this country. She deserves credit for that. But here's what I believe. The reason we don't have universal health care in America today is because of the insurance industry, the drug companies, and their lobbyists. It's that simple. And, George, then there's a fundamental question here. Whether voters believe the way we're going to have universal health care is to deal with those people, to make a deal with them. I don't. I don't think it'll work. I don't think we should be taking their money. I think we ought to make it absolutely clear that we're not going to take money from insurance company lobbyists or drug company lobbyists, these big corporate lobbies that actually killed the health care effort that was done in the 1990s.
George, Senator Dodd, I want to ask you, let me finish.
The question is, what will bring change? What will bring change? My belief is you have to take these people on and beat them to bring change. And you can't sit at a table and negotiate with them.
Senator Dodd, will you accept the challenge from Senator Edwards?
Well, look, first of all, I find this sort of situational ethics here. I mean, over the years, I find people taking money from one group or the other. We're sort of competing with each other as to which group is a good or a bad group here. The fact of the matter is, I've been supporting for years and years public financing of federal offices. That's what's needed in this country. You're never going to solve this problem unless you move in that direction here. And certainly, it's not only the money you take, but what are you doing? How are you casting your votes? Where were you on bankruptcy? Where were you on dealing with the estate tax reform? Those critical questions that affect people in this country are very important considerations. But public financing is where we need to be. And let me point out as well, George, here, if I may, as well here. It's about getting this job done. We don't elect a king or a queen or a dictator in November. We elect a president. The margins are thin. No one political party is going to write all of this. It takes leadership that knows how to bring people together. It's what I've done for 26 years. When I wrote the Family and Medical Leave Act, there's going to be 3 presidents, 2 vetoes to go through in 7 years. But I brought Republicans to the table around a democratic principle. The idea we're going to go down there, any one of us is elected a president, and write all the rules and decide what it's going to be is not the case. It's not how it happens. We need leadership that's been tested and proven to bring success between the political parties to get the job done for America. That's the kind of leadership that's needed in 2000.
Congressman Kucinich, is this debate over lobbyists real or artificial?
Actually, George, this debate is insufficient because you're really not including all the candidates here. And you're trying to polarize people out of the race. Now, let me talk about an issue that concerns the people of Iowa, and that is health care. The Iowa AFL-CIO, 2 days ago, endorsed H.R. 676, a not-for-profit health care system, a bill that I'm the co-author of. And Senator Edwards said that, you know, we're talking about challenging the insurance companies. Well, actually, every other health care plan represented by everyone else here on stage keeps the private insurers in charge. As a matter of fact, according to an article in The Nation, Humana, which participates in a hedge fund called Fortress, is in a position to just clean up with the privatization of Medicare. I'm the only one up here who challenges this system of premiums, co-pays, and deductibles. So let's give the American people a real choice, not a conditioned choice based on polls, but a choice that's based on their practical aspirations for health care, for their families, for a not-for-profit system. We have to break the hold which the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies have on health care.
I want to move on to another issue we're hearing about a lot from the voters of Iowa in the poll. More voters wrote in questions for us on the issue of Iraq than any other single issue. They all wanted to know what your plans were to get out of Iraq and to get out safely from Iraq. And Senator Biden, you've put up an ad just this morning here in Iowa on that subject. Here's part of it.
We were leaving Baghdad, and it was pitch black. As I climbed into the C-130, strapped in the middle of that cargo bay was a flag-draped coffin. It turned that cargo bay into a cathedral, and all I could think of was the parents waiting at the other end. We must end this war in a way that doesn't require us to send their grandchild back.
Let me turn to the question now, David Yepsen.
Governor Richardson, is that ad right, that Senator Biden is the only candidate with a plan?
No. I have a plan. Here's my plan. My plan is that to end this war, we have to get all the troops out, all of them. Our kids are dying. Our troops have become targets. My plan has diplomacy, a tripartite entity within Iraq, a reconciliation among the 3 groups. I would have a division of oil revenues. I'd have an all-Muslim peacekeeping force headed by the United Nations, a donor conference. But none of this peace and peace building can begin until all of our troops are out. We have different positions here. I believe that if you leave any residual forces, then none of the peace that we are trying to bring can happen. And it's important, and it's critically important that we do this with an orderly timetable. But what is key is all of the troops out, no residual forces. You leave residual forces behind, the peace cannot begin.
You're right. We do want to have a debate. Senator Biden, what's your reaction to that?
My reaction is that it's time to start to level with the American people. This administration hasn't been doing it for 7 years. We should. The fact of the matter is there's much more at stake in our security in the region depending on how we leave Iraq. If we leave Iraq and we leave it in chaos, there will be a regional war. The regional war will engulf us for a generation. It'll bring in the Shia, it will bring in the Saudis, it will bring in the Iranians, it will bring in the Turks. I laid out a plan a year ago with Leslie Gelb. It said that what we should do is separate the parties, give them breathing room in order to establish some stability. I notice most of my colleagues are coming around to that plan these days. But the bottom line is it's going to take 1 full year if you argued tomorrow to get every single troop out. And when you begin to take the troops out, what are you going to do with the 4,000 or 5,000 civilians that are left inside the green zone?
Governor, quickly.
Well, Anthony Cordesman from ABC News, a distinguished military expert, many generals agree with me that we can complete this withdrawal within 6 to 8 months. Let me give you an example. Today, in the Iraq War, through Kuwait, over a 3-month period, we have moved 250,000 of our troops. We would move them through roads in Kuwait. We would move them through roads through Turkey. We can do this negotiating with the Turks.